So we were a little hard on the Valley last week, rightfully so. Rightfully so. I felt like this was a better episode, but not because of what they were focused on. I just enjoyed it.
Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to not enjoy an episode more than what we had to watch last week. So I'll give it that. It still wasn't a great episode, though.
Not their best. Not their best. Just, I always, you know me, I like to be positive sometimes. And in this regard, it's like it was better.
Yeah, totally.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I'm your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Studi Goots. What's up, dude?
Everybody stop the presses. Lala and Sheena are back. Thank God. It's been too long. It has been too long since the two of them have been on our screen. Shit, even Brock got a little shout out there. Like, what the fuck is going on?
It was so, all of it was so forced, dude. It was brutal.
Did you see Zach had an interview, like some spilling tea podcast or maybe it was reality. I don't know what it was. And they asked him, like, how did you feel about Lala being on screen? Were you like, get the fuck out of here, or were you welcoming it? And he's like, you know me, I'm going to spill the tea on this. And then he went into like the nicest, softest answer of, we had a whole season together where we got to showcase our friend group, get through everything, figure everything out. And, you know, anytime that somebody comes in the next season and they weren't there the first season, it's going to be a little weird. It's like, Zach, please just say, fuck no.
You can say it.
Just, you can say it. Like, they did not earn this. They are searching and they are so goddamn desperate for any little airtime that they can get, to the point where Scheana is just wandering into shots so that she can stay on the camera. Like, just say it. Just
like poking
please,
her head into the corner of the frame.
I like Zach a lot. He would have immediately just rose to the top of my power rankings if he had just come right out and said, like, fuck no, we don't want those losers on our show. We have a good show. They crashed and burned their show. Go find a job. Get away from us.
Go get a job, you deadbeats.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have done himself a big service there by leaning into it more. But, you know, I love Zach. I think he's great. Did I tell you that I was at the Southern Charm premiere with him?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What were you doing? Did you have a wedding or something?
No, I was flying to England.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So I get to hold that one over your head forever. I also heard when we were there, I talked to somebody that worked at Bravo. And they're like, oh, we didn't invite you guys to all these things because we figured you wouldn't come to New York. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We'll definitely make the trek up. I just saw they had a thing for Summer House, and we still didn't get on the list. We got shafted again.
You know what we could have done on Tuesday night was go to the City Winery in Philadelphia and watch with Jax.
No. Didn't we get invited to that?
We did get invited to
host?
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think we were hosting. I don't even know what the fuck it was.
No, there was one we were supposed to host for Sandoval and Jax last year.
That was last summer. No, this thing on Tuesday night was a watch party for episode 7 or 6 or whatever of The Valley. And I guess he talked for a little while. I don't understand. Like, Jax Taylor, fine. Like, watch him. If you still enjoy his VPR days, fine. But, like, how are you going to spend your own hard-earned money to go sit in a room on a Tuesday night while he sits on stage eating ice cream, watching Britney talk about how much of a piece of shit he is? Like,
him lying about it.
Like, what are we doing here?
Did you see they had to turn off? Because I guess he's doing like a little tour with the City Winery, which, by the way, big fans of City Winery. We love them.
Yeah, no shade to them.
They had to turn off their comments because they were getting so much shit because it was right on the heels of his really bad episode.
Yeah.
And people were like, why the fuck are you letting this guy have shows at your establishment? People were livid.
Easy answer. The people at City Winery don't watch the show and have no idea what the hell's going on. And they're like, hey, we know this guy. He's doing a tour. Sure. Come on in. We don't care. Nope. Problematic.
I wonder how many people actually went to that.
It's funny because it's worse. I don't even think it's nearly as bad for City Winery to host him as it is for people to go pay money to go see him.
I think it's sort of infinitely worse to fund him.
Yeah. Like you're spending money, and there was like 100 people there too. I was very disappointed in our own Philadelphia.
You're not just spending money. You are giving your money to Jax Taylor. Mm-hmm. You're part of the problem. You're enabling. That's how we feel about that.
I'll tell you one thing he's not going to do. He's not going to pay his taxes with it. That's for sure.
Absolutely not. He's not going to pay his mortgage, you mean?
7 years running.
Mortgage or taxes?
Either. But in the after show, he was talking about his taxes. Britney said that he hasn't paid his taxes in 6 years.
Well, then we don't have to do much. We can just sit back and wait for the IRS to get him.
Yeah, you would think.
You would think they fired everybody that works there, so it'd
I'm
be a
sure
little difficult.
he's just got crazy back taxes. But yeah, somebody will pick him up.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. But anyway,
I'll tell you what, him going to prison for tax evasion is actually going to do him some good versus what we were watching here with this fucking rehab.
This place, I don't know what this place is, and I've talked about.
I don't think he's there, dude. I don't think he's there. I do not.
I think he's staying in a hotel somewhere, like an Airbnb.
1,000%. Yep. We'll get into that when we talk about,
All right, it's funny you had that take too. I was thinking about it. I'm like, none of this tracks at all. But yeah, let's dive in. But we start out. But
what I said, you're nasty.
Yeah, you're gross. You just gross. You look gross. You sound gross.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. But we start the episode out with Jasmine and Melissa, and they're headed to pick up Zach from the airport, which we've done the drive from LAX to Los Feliz. Holy shit. That airport is awful. Like, it's a nightmare.
This scene was funny because I don't think it was conveyed enough to the audience how thankful Zach probably was.
Yeah,
that she came down to go pick him up. Like, I can't even imagine. I don't know. I never understand. We always talk about this anytime LA comes up. I don't understand how people live there with that traffic and all the shit that's going on over there.
Nuts. Do you remember how fucking mad you were when we landed because we still like an hour and 20-minute cab ride? And
yeah, because there's nothing better than going to a place and like when was it? It was like November too, so it was like nice and sunny. It was like 75.
It was February because it was a Valentine's Day thing. It was still nice out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it was still really nice out. And we landed, I'm like, oh, cool. We have to sit in a fucking car for an hour and 20 minutes to get, 7 or 8 miles away?
Yep.
Fucking dumb city.
Yeah, that shit was wild. But only to say, I do think it speaks volumes to their friendship that she did make the drive, because that drive fucking stinks. But
yeah.
While they're on their way there, they're recapping the whole thing with Nia and Danny, and the fact that, as we talked about last week, Jasmine somewhat got to the root of everything going on, realized that, yes, he apologized, but I think I'm still triggered by this entire thing. And the apology at the white party didn't really land. And that goes to what you called. You said, I don't know how sincere that whole thing was. And this kind of confirms that, because she was like, it almost seemed like he just wanted to. You like, what?
So this is the thing. We keep seeing the same fucking clip. And she says, I feel like, which I have a whole different situation about this, but she says he started off the conversation saying, why are you bringing this up now?
Yeah.
And we, again, have not
She didn't say that verbatim. She said the vibe he gave off was like, the vibe was, why are we doing this now?
I'm so sick and tired. Like, I really do hope that we are done with Danny's drinking. Like, we move on, and obviously, it takes a bit of a shift towards Jason and wearing his wedding ring in a little bit. I hope we're done with this. I am so fed up with this whole fucking storyline. If I have to see that clip of the apology one more time, I'm going to lose it. I can't do it. Stop showing us this 30-second clip when Jasmine is now saying it felt insincere. It felt like a whole situation that he didn't want to deal with, which, again, I have a thing about that. But we're seeing it. He says, that wasn't me. Yeah, he's got excuses. He was taking medication, whatever. I don't care.
I didn't love that.
Yeah, I didn't really care about that either. But when it comes down to it, we're watching on film him saying, I am so, so sorry. And you're saying it felt insincere. So now we're looking at this and we're watching this fucking clip that we've seen 15 times. But she's saying something completely different. Show us the whole goddamn apology.
I want to see the whole clip.
Like, you can't keep showing us this clip. Cameras are already stationary. They're sitting there waiting for this conversation. Something more must be on there that's going to give us more context. Otherwise, I'm just done with it. And the other problem was when Jasmine's talking to her girlfriend about this, she says, I feel still so unsettled because of his comment towards me. I'm not splitting hairs here, but if he grabbed Melissa's ass, that's a huge fucking issue.
So
if you're just saying, I feel upset because he called himself daddy to me, and this is what this whole thing's about, and it's not about what he did to Melissa,
though.
Come on. Like,
that's not what it's about.
When she says it just seems disingenuous. The whole thing, it seems like a storyline, and
it's the implication. I don't think so.
This
is my whole thing with it. Like, I get being done with the Danny drinking thing, but that leans more on Janet and Jason's part in this whole thing. I think that's why it wore out its welcome. I think with Jasmine, like, you're allowed to feel the way that you feel, and if it didn't land that way, or you didn't feel resolved, like you're allowed to bring it back up. And I don't think that it has to do with the actual statement of get daddy a drink with the hand on the leg. I think it's more to what she was explaining, that no one takes us seriously. And this was just another reminder. And it felt worse because you're somebody that I care about. I don't think it's actually the comment of get daddy a drink. I think it's the implication that it's okay to joke like that because they're a lesbian couple. That's what I got.
I get that. I fully understand that. If it goes past, this is the last episode that I'm dealing with it though. Like there's another apology. We've now heard that he apologized a while ago. He apologized again at the white party, which when he says, and she's implying, he said, why are we bringing this up now? It's for cameras.
She didn't imply that.
But yes, she did. What are you talking
she
about?
Implied the vibe. She didn't imply that he said.
I'm sick and tired of like.
Yeah, but you're putting words. That's fine. But like this thing,
like that is what it is.
Solved. Sure, but again, I don't have a problem with readdressing it. My problem is Jason and everyone else talking about it. Like, yes, and now blowing this into something that, you know, Danny's a full-blown alcoholic, and we'll get into all of that, especially with the Jax of it all. So I'm on board with you, except for the fact that I do think that Jasmine is entitled to have another convo if that's what it takes, because he didn't understand, as we saw later, that she just wants him to understand.
But that's it. That has to be it.
Sure.
If we bring this back up and it happens again, like next episode, then I'm going full bore against Jasmine, because like I can't handle it anymore.
Well, because in this scene, it's like resolved. Like she says, we're good. Correct. Let's move forward. So I'm good now.
Hopefully.
But yeah, that was my whole take on it. Was just, again, like you can have the conversation, but everyone else needs to shut the fuck up. Like everyone's apparently an alcoholic expert now. But
yeah, well, you know what it comes down to for the rest of the group, we're all allowed to talk about everybody else's problems, but if you start talking about me and Janet's problems, don't you bring us
talk about me. Nope. Don't even say me and Janet. It's me and Jason. Nope. Jason is the second party there.
Jasmine, I can't even give second
party. Jason just listens. Like this became so evident this episode, like what his role is in their marriage. And we'll talk about it when we get there. But Zach gets in the car. He just got done a road trip with Benji. They needed to have some serious conversations about their future. As we know, Benji lives in Canada. So if they want to make this work, he's got to move in. They needed to get past the label stage. All you idiots and your labels. I will never understand it. But they finally are able to say, we are boyfriends. Like, oh, great. Like, this is my point with the label system.
He's still, this one's a little different though. There's a gray area here because he's still married.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll give them a pass. Okay.
And Zach did say, my on again, off again guy that, sometimes we're talking, sometimes we're not. It sounds like there's a lot of nuances there to begin with.
Sure.
So this one kind of makes sense.
I'll give you that. All right. I guess I'm just so jaded against the label system that I'm like, can we just these are the problems that labels cause. Because everyone's like, we're not boyfriend and boyfriend, we're just dating. It's like, well, what's the difference? Whatever. I'm gonna die on this hill forever. Forever and always will I die on the hill of I don't understand dating labels. But whatever.
All right,
boomer. I'll take that. But Benji met the parents, which is awesome. They're official. They're Facebook, Instagram, real world official now. Yes, Benji's still married. They're working out that part of the whole thing. But Zach is much cuter than the ex-husband.
Which is the only
I believe him. Yeah. And I agree. But we get to Nia and Michelle at the playground, and they're going over this dinner again. And Michelle just lets Nia know like how emotional Jasmine was. And Nia being Nia, class act always. She's like, look, I thought that they'd handled this. But I can't speak for Danny. And if she feels like she needs to have another conversation, then she needs to talk to Danny. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I wish that everybody else could have that response.
Watching this, like the breakdown of Nia, who has dealt with it. Apparently they've gone to therapy. They had a lot of conversations. They had a lot of conversations about it. There was a really rough time in their marriage during all of this. Her reaction to this is, yeah, you know what? If she still feels like she needs to have a conversation with him, happy to facilitate. Yeah. I hope they sit down and I hope they can get past it. That is the right response.
That's the correct
response. You bounce to somebody else, Jason, who is handling it in the worst possible way.
I'm going to go
and you're not even part of it. So like Nia, who has been entrenched in this since last October, who has heard about it, who has worked through it, who has
Who was
had to deal with
personally
her
affected
husband,
by it.
personally affected by it, has this reaction to it months later. You've got asshole number 2 over here, like, I got to insert myself in this situation. It's crazy to me the way that this works.
The way that he handled that, we're about to get there. I have
ridiculous.
so many issues with it, both on
He's
just
such a
a
pussy.
human standpoint and then in the recovery world. Like, he could not have done worse at what he was trying to do. But we check in with Jesse and Michelle while Nia and Michelle are talking, and she's at the point now where she can't take it anymore. And pretty much what we've been talking about, but she's getting to a point now where it seems like maybe she could move on. I know she's not going to. I know he's not going to. I know that this is going to keep going and going and going, probably forever. But I'll take things that didn't happen. Like, before I say this, okay.
No, I know. I
I'm
know
not
what this
Team
is.
Jesse. Okay. I'm not Team Jesse. You know this.
Yeah, you
right?
are. You're getting
And
there.
I'm not. I actually think that he was a huge piece of shit in their marriage, but she also cheated on him. So I'm not Team anybody. And I do think he was a monster. But let me say this. I'll take things that didn't happen for 500, Alex, because when she says, Isabella came up to me and said, if you want to marry Aaron, that's okay, but Jesse has to go. She didn't say that.
She's 4. So
she didn't say that. She might have said, if you want to marry Aaron, that's okay. Sure. She might have said that because
she may have said, Mommy, are you going to marry Aaron?
Perhaps that.
And then, fill in the blanks if you want to, Michelle, it's your daughter. But no, this was the viral tweet from a few years ago when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. And my 4-year-old walked in and said, oh my God, she passed away. And then did the Wakanda Forever sign and said, Ruth Conda Forever.
Oh my God, that's right. Ruth Conda Forever. Oh,
Ruth Conda Forever.
My
God. The craziest 4-year-old that ever existed. So yes, things that did not happen for $500, Alex.
Do you know how much I want that to be real? And this poor woman's just getting dragged forever. But she's like, she really said it. She really said Ruth Conda Forever. Wow, I forgot about Ruth Conda, dude. Great callback.
It'll be one of those trends in like 15 years where that girl gets on TikTok or whatever the social media is in 15 years.
Ruth Conda
it's
girl.
like, I'm famous from when I was 4 years old and I said Ruth Conda Forever. That really happened, guys. There's things on video about this. Like, sure.
That would be so fucking funny. I totally forgot about that. That's one of my favorite Twitter moments.
That's my favorite callback for any time that like a toddler says something that they clearly did not say.
You can marry Aaron, but Jesse has to go. And also, did she call him Jesse?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that's the part of it that we should be honing in on. Is Michelle telling Isabella to call her father Jesse,
and then say "I love you" to Aaron,
Aaron, and calling Aaron Daddy?
Aaron. I don't know. The more I see him on screen, the less I like the guy. Like, not a fan.
It seems like a bad guy.
He seems like an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and maybe that's unfair because we haven't got.
You know who he reminds?
But you know what I
reminds
base
me
it off
of Carter from VPR. A little bit. Dodie's ex.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad call. But
seems like an asshole.
When I feel bad about assuming that he's a dick because we don't really know him, I just go back to the first time we ever saw him where he decided to interject when Michelle and Jesse were talking about Isabella. He's like, well, you give her everything. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he commenting?
It would be one thing if we were just taking Michelle's words and stories and then twisting it into our opinion of Aaron. And we're like, I don't really like the guy. We watched him do something that we didn't like. So we're right now.
Yeah, we're right. You're wrong.
For now.
Yeah, you know us. We'll admit it if we're wrong. It's going to come out that he's like a saint. We're going to look like such dicks.
Aaron donates $1 million to charity. Fuck.
Stupid Bros and Shows podcast, drag humanitarian. Sorry. But let's keep going. We get to Jason, Luke, and Danny at a burger spot. I didn't care for this either. And Danny's like, you got any salads back there? I'm looking at my face. And you know that a lot of times I'm like eating certain things a certain way, but I don't do this. I'm in the fitness industry. If you go to a burger spot, get a goddamn burger. Don't be the guy that orders it without a bun and like no cheese and you eat it with a fork and knife.
I mean, I'm also the type of guy that looks at a menu before I go somewhere new.
Sure, every time.
If you're going to invite me somewhere and I'm trying to eat healthy, I'm not going to go. No, let's be honest. I'm still going to go and eat a burger.
And you got to film. You got to film the scene. But you get a burger.
But you get a fucking burger.
Get a burger.
You just don't get the fries or something.
Yeah, that's if I get a burger, no cheese.
No cheese.
God damn it. That bugged me.
I mean,
but anyway, Santa Barbara recap starts, and I immediately got a bad feeling because out of nowhere, like, we understand what the problem is, right? We
Mm-hmm.
understand that this is a Jasmine Danny problem. At the end of the day, everybody was drinking on this trip. Everybody got drunk. Danny
Yep.
took a nap. Yes, he was drunk. He wasn't parading around like I'm an alcoholic. The problem is between him and Jasmine. All right, let's make that very clear.
Yep.
We get to Santa Barbara recap, and Jason immediately is like, you know, that moment in the closet made Janet really uncomfortable. I was like, what does this have to do with Janet being uncomfortable? What are you talking about? And you can tell as soon as he leads off with that, I'm like, she sent you here. She
Mm-hmm.
sent you here with a list of things to say to Danny because she
Yep.
doesn't want to say it to him. So
Well,
you're
we
just
saw
a
that last week
mouthpiece.
too. At the end of the episode, Janet
Yeah,
and
we
Jason
did.
sat down, and she basically was telling him, "You need to have a conversation with Danny. Here's your talking points, baby. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I've got an index card with all the things you need to say
here's
to
your
make
bullet
sure
points.
one, it gets on camera, and two, you hit every little nerve that Danny has and piss him off so that it starts something, and then we're in the middle of it and we have a good storyline." No, this has,
No,
like you said,
terrible.
this is Danny and Jasmine. They
That's it.
sit down, they figure it out. If they want to do that, go for it. Everybody else,
Fuck
Britney,
off.
nobody gives a shit about your life is insane, but you chose to share your fucking life. This isn't about you. This has nothing to do with you. You dragged Nia into it. She doesn't belong here at this point.
No.
Now the two of you are getting involved. And by the way, Janet didn't have anything to say the whole time while you guys were in Santa Barbara. But when she comes home, is like, oh, I saw Danny. He was drinking tequila in the closet. And we keep seeing the clip. And yeah, he shut the door behind him. Yeah, it looks a little shady for sure. His reasoning is, well, everybody was doing shots of tequila. I was still catching up. He was in the mindset of getting really drunk really fast and probably wanted to keep doing it. So he went in and did it. If he's going to admit that it was a mistake, he shouldn't have done it. Sure, go for it. He went to sleep afterwards. Who cares? The big issue is
Exactly.
now that he missed dinner. Oh,
I
God.
know. What the
Oh,
fuck?
no. Whoa.
It's so fucking annoying, dude. And he keeps going in on him. And Danny, we've talked about it. I do agree that if you're hiding chugging from a bottle,
Sure. Yeah.
it's worth looking inward a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also don't like when he brushes it off and he's like, I wasn't drunk. I'm like, it's okay. You were drunk. Like, this
Yeah.
is a
Just
bad
admit that you were
approach.
drunk. Yeah.
100%. But Danny points out we were in the hot tub together in Santa Barbara. And you yourself, Jason, were like, that's not a big deal. Like, you fell asleep.
Yep.
So where did this sudden change
Jason
of heart
said
come
if
from?
I was drinking all day and fell asleep,
I would take a nap too, or
or
something.
Janet did it, I would say, yeah, she's tired. Everybody agreed. That was the worst part,
I know.
is that we really hammered down on the fact that the man was sleeping, but nobody was admitting that he was drunk, and it's a huge deal.
Everyone knew he
Who the
was
fuck
drunk.
cares? You're all drunk. Just because
Yeah.
he's sleeping and you're awake, he's actually doing less damage by sleeping than you are by being awake and yelling at his wife. So what the
Eh.
fuck are we doing?
Anytime in any show that we play the semantics game and that's what takes center stage, it's always a dumb argument and a dumb storyline. And this is like the perfect example of that. But Jason doubles down on him, says, well, I thought you would take accountability, but since you're like this, maybe you are hiding something. Not great. Now Recovery Steel's going to jump in for a second, okay? Because if you actually were concerned that he had a drinking problem and you were worried about his relationship with alcohol, are there red flags in which you could have this conversation? Yeah, actually there are. And I would say that this is worth a conversation. Why the fuck would you be accusatory, inflammatory, and try to poke and prod him into admitting something? No alcoholic or addict will ever cop to it if you're trying to piss them off out of the gate.
Yep.
Second, and most importantly, you treated Jax with kids' gloves after he abused Britney. And as you're driving him to rehab, you're talking about how good of a guy he is, how big his heart is. He's just in a bad spot. But Danny, whose issue is with Jasmine, not you, you're going to act like he's a junky piece of shit? That drove me crazy. I was like, how do you have this double standard for Jax, who is a known piece of shit? No one's questioning how big of a piece of shit this man is. And you had no energy for him, and you're going to take out all of your aggression on Danny? That makes no goddamn sense. And again, if he is an alcoholic, what you just did was push him further into the bottle because you didn't know how to handle the whole thing, treated him like an asshole. So Jason was not only wrong as a friend, but from a recovery standpoint, that was borderline detrimental. Like, he's an idiot.
And based on what we see a little bit later, when he feels really bad about all of that, that I actually genuinely think that he did feel bad.
I do too.
I think that what we saw with Jax when it was just the two of them was the
That's
real
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
This is Jason. This is Janet. This is Janet's little puppet.
This is Jansen.
Yeah. So if you want to rebrand it and say that you're not little bitch, that you're just do whatever your wife says and your wife is a fucking terror, rebrand it as I'm a great partner and I was just voicing my wife's concerns. Well, your wife's concerns suck. Your wife sucks.
Yeah.
Your wife is a shit person. She just is. And we can just call it there. And if we're going to watch it on TV, we're going to call you out for being like this. You doing this makes zero sense.
None
you
at all.
doing this probably did eat you up inside because you probably did at the end of this conversation feel bad when you had to double and triple and quadruple down and not say anything that could have been helpful for Danny. Danny was allowing you. Yes, of course he got a little upset. Yes, he felt accused. Yes, he felt pissed off about the whole situation. But he did calm down towards the end of the conversation and ask you a few questions. You had an opportunity to say, look, dude, it's an uncomfortable conversation. We can table it for now. You could do that so many different ways. Instead, you just kept going because you got to make mommy happy. I got to make mommy Janet happy. I'm Jason. God. Look at me. You fucking loser. He's such a piece of shit for this.
Yeah, I thought it was awful.
Like, he deserves to feel like shit after this.
He does. He deserves to cry.
I hope he did cry, and I hope he did have sleepless nights because he felt like a terrible friend, because you are a terrible friend.
This was a terrible friend moment. There's no other way around it. And Luke jumps in, and he's like, whoa, I heard Danny. This is a big talking point.
Yeah.
I heard Danny tell Nia to wake him up in an hour. Nia made the executive decision after walking into the room and seeing him like sound asleep.
Yep.
He needs sleep. He fucking woke up at 5 this morning. We have 3 under 3. He's exhausted. Let it ride. I'm not going to wake him up. She made the decision to not bring him down to dinner. Yep. It wasn't that he was, and that's what Jason keeps going back to. He's like, he couldn't even make it to dinner. And he's like, whoa. Because that's not what we saw. So like, we like to base it on evidence. Was he tuned up? Absolutely.
Yep.
Could he have made it to dinner? Probably. Nia didn't wake him up. So like,
you guys all made it to dinner. You guys were hammered.
Everybody was hammered. That's why this thing escalated to the point.
You guys were all doing shots of tequila. So like, what's the?
I don't know. It's so dumb, man.
Luke has come into this show so greatly.
Incredibly.
He fucking rocks.
Luke's the man. He's the number 1 guy in the group, and it's not even close.
Easily is. He figured out a way to go to confessionals and say, Kristen, why are we doing this? But immediately support the shit out of her in real time.
That's a man.
That's where you got to be. And yeah, you might catch a little flack afterwards when she watches the confessionals. You'll be fine. You guys love each other.
So.
You guys
I
are
think
great.
that's their relationship because we've seen him check her in real time. I think that.
I think Kristen's also self-aware too, where she's like, yeah, I don't really need. And she says something a little bit later that we'll get into. But yeah, she's probably like, yeah, I didn't really need to do this. And when Luke says it in his confessional, she's probably like, yeah, you're right, buddy. That's great.
But in front of other people, I got your back.
He's got people's backs, and he's also logical, and he's also just a sound dude who now he's interjecting, and that's the best. Is in the past in season 1 when he wasn't really friends with everybody, he wouldn't have said anything in this situation.
And his interjections were kind of awkward and aggressive.
They were awkward. They were late. We weren't really sure what he was saying, or he would get ticked off and say something that was like too much. Now we're watching this and it's like, whoa. And he's got respect from other people too. So it works really well. He's really come into his own this season. It's so nice to watch.
Yep. Very proud of Luke. Very fun to watch. But Jason brings up Jasmine and Danny's like, whoa, I talked to her. I thought this whole thing was squashed. But apparently it was not, because Jasmine still feels some type of way about it. And then Jason says a very confusing line. He's like, well, you didn't take full responsibility, not 100%. It's like, of what? Of fucking up? Because the clip that we did get, he did apologize to her. He says he apologized numerous times and will do it again. He's already said to Jason, well, we need to have another conversation then, because I don't want her to feel that way. So he's addressed it. And Jason keeps pushing, keeps poking, and he keeps coming at him like he's a full-blown raging alcoholic. And Danny's like, I don't know what to do with this. He's like, well, I disagree. That was Jason's ending line. And he said something along the way, like, I guess it's the lawyer in me. Shut up. I hate when people do that. The lawyer in you makes you be a dick to your friends. Is that what that does? Because this was the most confusing, and not really confusing because we know where it came from, but the most misguided, and he just looked like a little bitch. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You look like
there's not one
bitch.
There's not one person that watched this episode that said, wow, Jason's acting on his own accord. He's really
No.
concerned. He's a concerned friend. No,
No, he has an
Even if-
earpiece in and Janet's feeding him lines.
yeah. And the other part is, even if he took the stance of being a concerned friend and actually tried to help Danny, there would still be a lot of people watching this like, Jason, you don't actually believe this. Janet just told you what to say to make this a whole thing. So no matter what you do, it's a lose-lose situation. I don't know why he's looking at this. He's throwing his own image under the bus for the sake of being a good husband at this point. That's what he's doing. And
You
it's
can do
it's
both.
such horseshit. I don't think, dude, I don't think you can marry to Janet. I don't think that you can
Maybe.
still look like a good person
My
and
way
be
or the
married to
highway.
her. Yeah, it's fucking brutal.
Or else she's gonna make home life fucking Ms.
She already does. Let's be honest.
No, I know, but that's maybe if he falls in line, she doesn't make it as bad. I don't know. But he handled the whole thing horribly
know.
from every single standpoint. I thought it was brutal. Quite possibly Jason's worst showing. It is his worst showing to date.
It definitely
But
is. Yeah.
we move on to Jax in his confessional. All of these are so overproduced and fake, and I don't buy anything that he's saying. And he
Do you wanna
gets his
not talk about it?
confessional.
Do you want to just
Sure.
not talk about it?
Let's
I
just
say we
move on.
skip. I had a weird thought last night when we were talking about doing this. I kind of want to move forward and just act like Jax isn't on the show. Like we just skip everything that he's in.
I'm kind of fine with that. I think I want to say one thing on the topic, and then
Yeah.
we can do that. Because there's a podcast out there that we won't name names because we're not petty and little bitches about things.
Well, you're not
But-
petty, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But there's a podcast out there that's not fond of us that also is like big Jax Taylor sympathizers, which is fucking bizarre. And they had an issue with us coming after Jax like a month ago or something like that. The whole reason that Jax is such a massive piece of shit, which he is, and for anybody to like come at us because we said that it's dumb. But he didn't go take this seriously because he's in this confessional, quote unquote, from rehab, quote unquote. But we know now that he left this place to go back home, to get more clothes, to take the blinders off of the cameras in the house.
Yep.
We know that he was from there watching his wife at home and pretending like he was having people following her. We know that he stayed for a grand total of 11 days. None of that is
the video diary said day 17. So that's where I immediately theorize he never went. I don't think that he ever
either.
went to this
I
fucking
think this
facility.
is a crock of shit. And if
Yep.
he did, this facility is inept. You're inept. You're
Yeah,
the worst
it's
facility in the world. Why is he allowed to leave? Why is he allowed to be on
It
his
would be
phone?
worse. It would be way worse if he did go to this facility and these are the things that they let him do than it would be if he just lied to everybody and went to a hotel room or stayed at Schwartz's or something. Like,
I think you're right. I don't think that he
I
ever
don't
went
think
to
he
an
went.
actual treatment. I think they dropped him off there, and I think that he maybe stayed for a day and then rented an Airbnb somewhere.
I know how. Obviously, you know, the way that we talk about people on this show, when it comes down to like substance abuse and things like that, we always give people soft hands. We always try to get them
Sure.
through it. This is a different situation when it comes to
Absolutely.
Jax. I do not believe fully that he ever went to this facility. There's no way that even if it's the most lax facility in the world, that he can sit on his phone and rage text his wife all day. He's making up lies. He may have saw a therapist here or there. I don't know, maybe, because he did have to have a therapist later for the
Probably a
conversation
life
that he had with
coach.
Britney. Yeah, it's probably a fucking life coach. It's probably the guy that Jesse talked to earlier this season. And he had to go through all of this, but I don't think he ever went to a facility. There's just no way that he did this. And now we're on day 17 when we heard last summer that he only went to 11 days. So
Yep.
now it really doesn't make any sense. So I don't think he ever went.
And if you look at his quote unquote progress that he was supposed to get from this place, every clip that we have of him after this place, he's the same fucking person. He's the same fucking person. So it's indefensible. His behavior is simply indefensible. He's a piece of shit.
Yep.
He
But we
proved
said-
that by not taking this seriously. When everything in his life fell apart in front of him, he hit his wife with a coffee table. And even then, he didn't actually go and take this seriously. So fuck this guy.
We said last year that he joined this show, started this show because he wanted to get a divorce, because it was an easy way to like start fights with Britney and get the hell out of here. Obviously, it got way, way worse, and we should have never seen any of that, and that should have never actually taken place on a TV show. But here we are. This could all just be part of the Jax grand scheme. He
For
never
him,
wanted.
yeah,
he wanted
honestly.
to get out of this relationship. He wanted to get out of his marriage. He wanted to move on with his life. At
Moving
this
next to
point, you know, I'm
Schwartz.
not really sure that he really cares about his family at this point. He wanted to move next to Schwartz. He wanted to do all of these things. I think that this is all part of the master scheme that Jax had out from before this season 1 even started. I think he just wanted to get the fuck out of it and start a new life.
It's
this
just
is what you're
taking on a
doing.
life of its own, and now he's just like keep trying to put the pieces together.
It's just forming all of these lies and hoping they fit, but in his mind, it fits like a perfect puzzle.
That's the vibe I get, honestly. But we move on to Britney and her mom at the rental house, and they're setting up for a shark party. Love a good shark party. Let's be honest. That sounds like a great fucking idea.
Mm-hmm.
But Dodie arrives with Luke, and they're talking about Cruz and Jax, because in that scene with Jax, he was saying, I'm so excited. I get to see my son, blah, blah, blah. Hasn't seen him in a while. So there was this whole thing set up that Britney was going to take Cruz to the park and drop Cruz off. I guess the nanny dropped them off there so that they could do their thing. And then Britney was going to go and hang out with Jax after the fact. But that's where she lets us know. She's like, yeah, I went home and I looked around and all of the cards that were taped over the cameras were gone. And then I looked at my phone and he had sent me texts like, I know you're wearing that red this with that red that. And it made me think I was being followed. Now I know that he took the cameras off. He was allowed to leave this place, quote unquote, go home to get new clothes and terrorize his wife.
Yep. Well, he only got those 3 pairs of sneakers, those Jordans that he picked up. So he needed the rest of his collection.
Jordans. Some more J's.
Everybody knows when you go to rehab, you got to show off all your nice Jordans.
That's what I was doing.
That's how
when I was there. Yeah, I showed off all of my stuff, not the 4 things that I had with me. You got
to fit off. God, he's just such a piece of shit. So hearing all of this
garbage person.
and then putting it all together with what she's saying in the after show, what he's saying, God, he's
the worst.
He's irredeemable.
Like, and I am not that person. I always, to a fault, give people another chance. Yep. And this guy, fuck him. He's burned all of his bridges. I don't care. But he gave Britney some spiel about, I want to go back to the beginning. I want to start dating from scratch again. And I think to do that and for us to move forward, I can't be back at the house. So I leased a condo next to Schwartz. You have a mortgage that you haven't paid since May, as we find out later.
Yep.
You have your wife currently staying in a rental Airbnb. So she's paying for 2 homes. And you think it's a good idea to lease a condo next to your buddy who you want to drink with. All right, cool. Sick.
Yep. You made Britney and Cruz leave to get their own place.
Yep.
Didn't pay the mortgage. Just lived there, used it as your fucking rundown bachelor pad just to do whatever the hell you wanted. Never paid for anything. Saved up money. Got a lease.
Leased a condo. All right, sick, bro. And anyone that can defend that, give me a
tell me this wasn't premeditated. By the way, leasing a condo remotely, how often you would have to call so many people. You have to
it wasn't remote. He went to it.
Yeah,
you think he's staying at Schwartz's?
I'm paying. No. I mean, maybe there's definitely a possibility he was staying at Schwartz's. I'm just painting a different picture. If you're in a facility that you're not, you're allowed to leave and go home and get your clothes, and you decided to take the cards off the fucking cameras. If we're supposed to believe all of that,
sure.
You then leased a condo, so you're sitting on your phone, you've got a laptop, you're sending an application in, you're sending down payments, you're sending all this fucking money out.
First and last month or whatever.
You didn't get to actually see the condo, but you know what it looks like because there is no facility in the world that would allow you to do all of that. Rage text your wife, flip out about this and that, and watch security cameras all day on your phone to see what Britney's doing. No, it doesn't exist. You're just not there anymore.
If it is a treatment center, none of that would be okay. Period. No. And I've been, trust me, been there, done that.
This is all, it's all premeditated, dude.
It's gross.
I guarantee you, before he went there, before he went to the facility, if he even went, he saw the lease, he saw the condo, he started that shit in motion. It took 17 days for him to do that. Yeah, that's a typical amount of time. He probably did it the week before he went. So no, this is all premeditated.
He's a piece of shit. But what this does do is it gets Britney finally to be like, I finally see him for who he is. I can't believe that this was the straw that broke the camel's back, but at least we got there eventually, right?
Yeah, we got there.
We get to Danny, Jasmine, and Melissa for our much, much needed conversation for multiple reasons. 1, so Jasmine can feel better, so Melissa can feel better. And 2, so we don't have to talk about it anymore. We are in agreement with that one. But Danny starts out the conversation, and then Jasmine starts talking about being in a relationship with a woman makes you extra sensitive to this stuff. I've had instances in the past where I've actually had to cut off friendships because they did similar things. And her whole goal is I need you to understand. It's not even so much about being sorry, it's understanding why this hit me the way it did.
Reasonable.
Yeah. And like the best point always is like, if this was a dude, like if I was with a man, how would this have gone? And it's like, that's fair because it wouldn't have gone the same way at all. There would have been words exchanged, people in other people's faces. So when she says it that way, he starts to get it that people don't take their relationship seriously because it's two women. There's more room, or people assume that there's room to joke about it, and she's sick of it. And so as soon and like Danny, of all the people in this cast, is emotionally intelligent. He's not an idiot. So he's hearing this and actually resonating and being like, fuck, man, I didn't think of it like that. I feel horrible. He gets emotional at the table, and he's like, he apologizes for the right things. He understands the things he needs to understand.
Yeah.
And Jasmine seems to be like, all right, we're there. I still want to have a friendship with you and Nia. I'd like to move forward. He wants to move forward. So in my mind, we've
done.
Gotten clarity.
Yep.
So let's move forward from this.
That's what I would hope to. And I'm really happy again. This kind of cements Danny in that aspect of he understands and he feels like shit. Like you can tell that he's like, he didn't question why is this still going on, which you can't. And he also didn't try to explain it away and say, look, it wasn't meant like that, or I wasn't even thinking about that, I was just drunk and doing this. Like there were no excuses thrown out there. He just listened and said that he understood because it's in a completely different way. This is Jasmine's experience. This is Melissa's experience. This is what they're telling you. You just have to sit there and listen. And he did. And he responded in the best way. He apologized again. He wants to move forward. And he said that's never going to happen again. So again, if there is something that happens and he gets drunk and does some more shit, a whole different conversation. We have now predicated all of this in the beginning of this season. So if you fuck up, we have the evidence that been told countless times you can't do that. You can't get drunk and do dumb shit. If you do it again, that's on you. We're not going to defend you. You and I are not going to sit here and be like, well, it's a little murky. Danny was drunk, let him go. Nia seems okay. No, none of that. If you have see bad behavior again, you're done. Enough people. And yes, the Jason thing you can throw out the window, but it does count as somebody else talking to you about your drinking. So if it still persists, different issue. If this is the end of it, hopefully this is the end of it. If it gets brought up again simply because the guy gets a little tipsy and he's not bothering anybody, that's going to be a problem. That's when I'm going to flip.
Yeah, you're going to lose your mind. I'm just going to check out and be like, I don't have time. Let's keep trucking with Dodie, Luke, and Jesse. They're talking about the backlash that Danny has received for all of this stuff. And when you break it down overall, it's either nodding to there's nothing going on this season to talk about, or people hate Danny and Nia because they're happy, so let's try to tear them down. That's the vibe, that it's one or the other, because it can't be anywhere in the middle, because it doesn't make sense to me. And
it can only be in the middle if it's both of those things combined. That's the only middle ground.
I guess 50-50. You're right.
Yeah,
sure, but like
not enough to talk about. Why don't we take down a happy couple? That's enough to talk about.
That's the vibe I get, because we're all not happy, so let's take down these two. Even Luke is like, our logical king is like, why is Jason going in on him? Like, why does he care so much? And it's like, why he cares so much. It's because of fucking Janet is why he cares so much. And that's when Dodie does what Dodie does, and why we love her on reality TV.
What we've been waiting for.
She drops the line, Jason has no space to judge anyone's relationship. Keep your wedding ring on when you go out. This is not the first time that we've heard this rumor. This was mentioned last season, I believe. But allegedly, every time that Jason goes out, the ring comes off. Now, as soon as this was said, I was like, I really don't think Jason's out there cheating on Janet. Like, I really don't get the vibe from him that he's doing that.
Nope.
So this sounds to me like somebody may have seen him one time without the ring. It turned into something else. I guess Jasmine's the one that saw it originally.
Told Zach. Zach told Kristen.
Down the line we go, right?
It's actually the exact same as what we heard about Michelle being a Republican last year.
Correct. Republican, racist, all that stuff that was claimed that she said, right? So it's the same, like, whisper down the lane. It gets lost in translation. You don't really know what was said. But Jesse, it's like, this is nobody's business, which I would believe that you feel this way if you didn't
I
snitch
think,
later on. Because then I'm
yeah,
like, well, what was the goal?
yeah. So this is where I think Jesse's coming from. Is I think if Jesse had been sitting there when Jason was going in on Danny, he'd feel differently about this. So I think
Yeah.
this is just karma. This is just what happens on reality TV. Jason's not involved in any of this, should never be involved in any of this. It's not his fight to go after. If Janet has a problem because she was in the closet and saw him do it and she's
Well,
triggered by
fucking
all
say
of these
something.
things, then you go say something, Janet. Don't send your very, very docile attack dog after somebody else. It's going to open him up to shit that people are going to get mad. And Dodie's one of them. Dodie's looking at Danny and Nia saying, they're the nicest people here. Why are we attacking them? Notice she doesn't say anything about Jasmine. Jasmine talked about her experience last week. She stopped talking. Dodie has no problem with that because it's the experience of another woman and what
Yep.
she's going through. She's going to let that lie. That's between Danny and Jasmine. So she lets that go. Once Jason involves himself, you're opening yourself up to all of these attacks now. You could have just sat back, had another season where you just hang out and do things here and there, and you'd be fine. Instead, because you have to listen to your wife, you got to go do this. It opens you up to all this shit. Whether this is true or not, whether you're cheating on Janet or not, there's something there. Somebody saw you without a wedding ring one time, two times. You're open. It's open business for you. So this
That's
is
what
what's
I
going to
think.
happen. And I think that Jesse, if Jesse had been sitting there, he probably would have taken it a little differently. Like, he opened himself up to it. I don't really agree with how he was going after Danny. But instead, it's like, all right, I can see how you can look at this and be like, all right, this is a bit much. We don't
Yeah.
really, I haven't heard any cheating rumors. I haven't heard anything unsanitary. If somebody saw him without his wedding ring, there's a lot of reasons why somebody
There's
doesn't have a wedding
probably
ring on.
a logical explanation as to why it's
Yeah.
not on. And
So, yeah, I get that.
that's when you get the cut to Luke's confessional. He's like, God damn it, Kristen. God damn it. Like, why do we do this every year? But again, I think that that's their relationship. So it's pretty
Yeah.
funny. But let's get to the party. Everyone's getting spray on abs. Love to see it. You know, look good, feel good, play good. That's rule number one.
I love Zach going through all of his costumes
Yeah, just spray
It's
on
like,
abs. Spray on
with
abs.
abs.
And superhero, but the gay version.
Gay
with abs.
superhero with abs. Yeah.
Yep. Love it. Love it. But of course, I would be remiss not to mention Scheana, Lala, and Brock walk into the party. And I was so excited. This is what we've been missing on this show. These three idiots. Thank God they're back. Meanwhile, Jason's nervous because he realizes that he went too hard on Danny. And you should be. You should be nervous, uneasy, anxious, sad, all of those things because of how poorly you handled everything. But we start out with Lala, Michelle, and Scheana talking about the horror comment and all of those things. The one thing that I'll give credit for is when Lala says, why does he look like his personality? I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think Jesse does look like his
Very true.
personality.
He 1,000% does. And I think that's
Give it
very
that one.
meticulous. I think he has tried to do that.
I think so too. But
Yeah.
that one landed. I was like, okay, 1 point. She gets minus 20 points later, but that was 1
At
point.
least.
And before we get to Lala's interaction with Jesse, we have Danny and Jason sit down. And you can tell that Jason is not in a good place. And he's like, I feel awful with how I handled everything. And you even get Nia questioning Janet now, where she's questioning their friendship, what her role in this whole thing is, why she's so conniving and trying to move behind the scenes and talk shit. Jason starts crying and apologizing, saying, it was bad. I'm so sorry. To the point when Danny says, I forgive you. He's like, honestly, like, really? I agree with you. This is Jason. What we saw earlier was Jansen. That's Janet in his ear. This is who Jason is.
I like Jansen.
Jansen's a great call.
Yeah.
But that was Jansen. This is Jason, and it's working. And just be
it's
yourself,
so funny too,
dude.
because like watching this scene, it's like, how did you even get through that scene with Danny where you were calling him out without crying? Like, this is who you are. You felt
I don't know
bad
how he got
instantly.
through that.
I have no idea how he got through any of this. But yeah, no, this is the real Jason. This is, and I don't think, like, a lot of people are like, oh, he's got a guilty conscience. He thinks that this is going to come out or whatever might happen. Like when he's going around after he finds out that Dodie's saying something about him or there's beef and he starts freaking out. That's not a guilty conscience. This is a man that is not involved in anything. He just lets his wife go do whatever the fuck she's doing and never questions it. Once he gets involved, he's like, oh God.
I can't handle this.
What have I done? I can't handle this. Is Danny going to be mad at me? Is our friendship over because of
I
what I
haven't
just said?
slept in 4 days.
It's not. Like, Danny is probably one of the more forgiving people on this cast
Yeah.
that's not going to hold a grudge, especially for a storyline, because I don't even think that him or Nia think that way.
I don't either.
He's going to forgive you immediately because he knows even when you weren't coming from a good place, he's still going to look at it and be like, yeah, I think you were coming from a good place. Deep down, he knows that it was just Janet talking. So, it doesn't really matter. But to watch Jason just crumble like this was so funny.
It was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Honestly, after watching it earlier and then seeing this, I'm like, this is what happens when you step outside of who you are.
Try to play in the big leagues. Not going to work.
Don't do that. Just do what you've always done. But let's get to Jesse and Lala.
Oh,
because Jesse approaches Lala and he's talking about like, oh, I always wanted more kids. And Lala starts in on him. It's like, well, I would think differently considering how you treat the mother of your child. And Jesse goes, there's two sides to every story, blah, blah, blah. And, it is a valid point. She's like, you called her a whore and a slut. It is fucked up. And it's so funny to me that Jesse's response, even the strongest have moments of weakness. I was like, brother,
he went to his life coach last week. He screamed into a pillow 3 times. He's a changed man.
No, he's not. And also for him to equate himself to like one of the strongest people having a weak moment, I'm like, you're not that strong. And you have lots
God gives his strongest soldiers the hardest battle, Steele.
Whatever, dude. You fucking Jesse apologist. It was so funny to me.
This interaction, at least to start off with, and pretty much the entire thing, here's how you have to look at it. If you're just a casual watcher, if you're just watching this show because you enjoy it, maybe you were watching because it's a little VPR spinoff and you wanted to see Lala and Sheena. This is Lala's audition to be on the show. This is why she's talking to Jesse. And it went horrible, but not for the reason that you would think. It went horrible because she didn't invoke any reaction from Jesse. He did not start yelling at her. He didn't get into it with her. He let her talk and say some of the dumbest shit, which she said something a little bit later. That's insane. Some of the dumbest shit. Her audition fell flat because she didn't get the rise out of Jesse. You get a reaction out of Jesse, then it becomes a little bit more and a little bit more. And then it's like, ooh, maybe Lala should be in the cast. Nope. Instead, we get Lala just going off and off and off. Jesse says nothing. Sheena's just lurking in the background trying to find the camera.
Trying to get
it was a fail.
Angle.
Such a fail for both of them. And then Brock later, like, I'm sure there was film of him doing more shit. He gets nothing. It was satisfying to watch this because it didn't work the way that the three of them hoped that it would. And hopefully this was like, okay, we've got enough going on over here. And you and I have agreed last 2 episodes, not the best, this one better than the last one. Last one really sucked, but still it's a good show that has a promising future. And watching this, we don't need these people. These people do nothing. Even when they're trying, they do nothing.
Well, it was just insane to me because of the way that she's talking to him. She's like, well, I tend to side with the chicks. I'm like, do you?
What about Ariana?
Back to Scandival because you sided with that idiot because you were jealous that she got all of these deals from this, that she is now in a completely different atmosphere than you are with her career. And you're fighting for screen time on the Valley where nobody wants you. So for you to say, I side with the ladies, the one moment that you really had to prove that in the easiest one of all time, it was such a layup. This man's a piece of shit and wronged your friend. But instead, because of jealousy, you said, nah, Sandoval's not a bad guy. We got the wrong idea. Like,
come
are you
on,
shitting me? And then you want to come on to your audition for the Valley, and this is how you lead it off? That was the dumbest thing she could have done. And the other part, the most important part, if you watch this from a show standpoint, I don't care who you are. Why are you coming in and giving us the rundown of where you stand with Jesse, where Jesse stands with everyone? You haven't been here. I don't care if you like the guy or not because you're not part of the cast.
When she said you attacked my friend, I was like, I didn't even know you were
you guys friends? Michelle. Exactly. No. It's so
Michelle's on the show. You're a friend of.
This was such an irrelevant waste of screen time. It made no sense. It's just trying to shoehorn this cast into the new cast, which we don't need. This proved, the whole party scene proved, we don't need them. The 3 times that Scheana has been involved with this show, the phone call, the hike, and this, she has contributed nothing. Zero. And the one chance Lala did, she contradicted herself like no one ever has on Bravo. And then she gave us the rundown on what's going on with Jesse. It's like, we've been watching. Where you been? This doesn't land. Doesn't work. So
not at all.
To come back. But Jesse, you know, I don't know if this is a show thing, moving the plot along, or just, you know, he's bros before ladies. I don't know what this was, but he goes up to Jason and snitches about the ring comment. And now Jason starts fishing.
Well, he does, but he doesn't. All he says is that Dodie's saying some stuff about you. He doesn't tell him exactly what it is.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
right.
best part.
Dodie's talking shit, which is
like,
worse.
I think it's for the show. I think it's funny because I do think it was a bit of a heads up because I think he disagrees with it morally. Like, hey, there's no cheating rumors or anything. I'm going to give him a heads up, but he stops short of telling him exactly what it is,
Well, then
which
he
is funny as
speculates and
shit
panics.
because it makes Jason spiral. Oh
Yep.
God, Dodie's coming after me for what?
For what? What
That's
on
the
earth could this
last
be?
person on this cast that I wanted to come after me.
Exactly. Exactly. But we start getting into the ring comment, and people sit down. It's Jason, Janet, Luke, and Dodie. Jasmine pops over for a second, and Jasmine's the one that heard it. And she's like, look, I heard this 2 years ago. I don't know if that was the funniest part. She's like, I know it's not true. Or I don't think I don't know. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, now you're
Which
second
is
guessing
it?
the whole thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a very different story. But this is the funniest part of Jason's interaction with Danny and then coming into this scene because he's like, I spoke to Danny on Jasmine's behalf. I was like, did she ask you to?
Nope.
Did she say, hey, Jason, can you hold his feet to the
Certainly
fire for
did
me?
not.
No. So when you're now upset that she's talking about the ring comment, she didn't say, Jason, go combat this whole thing for me. So now you're upset at her for not having your back, but she never asked you to have hers in that moment. And
Yeah.
even when you go back to that scene, you didn't keep it about Jasmine. You talked about all of it and how Janet was uncomfortable.
Also, just a weird comment to start this whole thing off when you finally find out what it is. Your response is, I'm so happy that this is what this was about.
Yeah, I'm like, what else?
What
is
does
there?
that mean?
I don't know.
That means there's more there. Like,
It's like,
there
oh, I
could
thought it
be
was this
something
other
else.
thing that was way
Yeah.
worse. Like,
So
what
that's
do
a
you
weird
mean?
response. Like the immediate, like jovial reaction, like, oh God, I'm happy
Oof.
it's this and not something else. It's like, what
Dodge
do you
that
mean,
bullet.
buddy? What are you talking about?
No idea. I thought the same exact thing, but Janet interrupts, of course, and she's like, all I want to hear from you. I hate when people do this in conversations. She's like, I am the authority on what's right and wrong.
Mhm.
All I need to hear from you, I just need to hear that you're sorry. That's all I need to hear from you. It's like, all right, Janet, let's play this game. You love to gossip about people behind the scenes. You
Yep.
love to throw baseless rumors out there, talk all the shit to your husband. And then when people come to you and check you on it, you handle it worse than anybody.
Yep.
But now somebody's questioning you and why Jason doesn't wear a ring, which, by the way, again, we go to everybody in this group and question
Mhm.
things. Let's not forget we're still coming off of the Danny Nia being drunk bullshit, which
Yep.
you had all of the energy for. So this is fair game because somebody brought up a rumor that he doesn't wear his ring. Answer for it, but don't take this high and mighty approach of how dare you while you clutch your pearls and pretend like this is that big of a fucking deal. And Dodie even says what she was doing. Look,
Yep.
you were coming after Danny. He's my boy. I didn't fucking like it, so I threw some shit out there too. That's exactly
Yep.
what I did.
That's
It even
exactly
looks
what
like-
Janet does.
Yes, exactly. That's essentially exactly what it was. But that's
It's exactly what Janet does. You enter a situation that had nothing to do with you. You throw a baseless claim out there just to see what sticks so you can stir the pot. If you're going to try to stir the pot on a show like this, you have to be ready for the repercussions. Nobody ever
Absolutely.
gets away with it. You got away with it last year because you would excuse yourself a million times over. I'm pregnant. I can't deal with any of this. I got to go. Okay, fine. But you're not pregnant anymore. And you're
Nope.
still doing this. You're actually doing it worse this year than you did last year. So now you're involved. You want to get involved. This is what being involved looks like. You're going to have some shit thrown your way. You need to be able to handle it. I'm not even going to say the word respect, but if she had responded in a way of like, well, that's just stupid and baseless. I don't really fucking care. Is that really what we're doing? Like,
That would've been
what?
great.
I don't care. Then move on. That would have been great. Then at
Awesome.
least we can see that you can handle yourself in a situation like this. By handling it the way that you did, it opens you up a little bit more because now people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Why
So
so
you're going to
touchy?
throw shit out there. But if we comment a little bit here and there, you're going to freak out. There's probably something there. Or even if there's not, you're still going to lose your shit. And that's going to be more satisfying. So
Yeah.
you now open yourself up to all of that for the rest of the season.
Agreed. But Britney gives a speech to the whole crew, and I love that she announces this to everybody. She's like, "Well, I met
Yeah.
up with Jax, and he wanted to date again, and blah blah blah." And then he went and rented a condo next to Schwartz, and everyone jumps in. I knew he wouldn't change. Fuck that guy. Blah blah blah. This was the final straw, like I said, and you still had hope, which is baffling. Like when she says things like that, I'm like, what? It's hard for me to defend that. Like, how would you still have hope? But whatever. She got to this point. We're going towards a divorce. Everyone, yay!
Yeah.
Woohoo! So let's finish this bad boy off because we got Britney, Schwartz, and Jasmine, and they're at Brits. It's no longer Jax's.
It's no longer Jax's. Yep. I love that she was able to just walk in and just put a little note over his face. Like, take the signs down, do whatever you want.
Yeah. And you should, by the way, 100%. But listening to Schwartz's intro, it was so funny. He's like, yeah, he seems like, he's at peace. He's serene. This whole thing's done wonders for him. His new diagnosis, his new medication, this, that, and the other thing. And Brittany's like, yeah, he hasn't paid the mortgage since May. It's August. Didn't tell me about it. Didn't say anything. And then he went and signed a condo lease. He hasn't changed at all. He's the same fucking guy. And the minute that he heard he could move in next to you, he didn't think about his family. He didn't think about anything else. He thought about partying with you, Schwartz. That's who this man is. And it just cracks me up watching Schwartz come to these realizations. He's like, wow, man, I didn't see that. It's like, you never do. You never do. You're never that guy. You're not a detective by any means. But like, it's just watching the spiral that has been Jax Taylor and like getting to this point. It's just insufferable. It's like, my God, even in a treatment center, quote unquote, you still make the wrong decisions with people around you telling you what to do. Like, what the fuck?
We're now like four episodes removed from him going away. And obviously we knew he was going to be an integral part of the whole thing, but his impact on the show is still, it's so negative. It's so bad. It doesn't make any sense for why we would continue to watch it. He's just got to go. It's that simple, and he's not going to. I can tell you right now, season 3.
Yeah, we got season.
It's going to be the two of them. It's going to be the two of them living separately. They're not together anymore.
And we got scenes dating. From the rest of the season. He's involved a lot.
Jax is dating. He's going to show up with some like bimbo. I'm sure to like a scene. It's going to be a whole fucking thing. But he's going to be saying how he's a changed man. It's just, that's what next season's going to be. Just because of what we're watching this season. It's stupid. It would be good without him. I'm not even saying get rid of Brit, but like,
no, you don't need to.
Just Jax. Getting rid of Jax would be fine.
I agree 100%. But let's get to some questions.
From Jen Ju Chen, how fast did you hit fast forward when Lala came on? But she
we don't have that luxury.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't. We have to watch all of this. I the only fast forward that I would have considered in this episode is just Jax's video diary because they're such bullshit.
They're so dumb. I agree. I would have done that too.
From J Bay the Hut 713, does Aaron's resting bug-eyed face bother you too? Because it disturbs me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot I like about that guy.
Out. Yeah, I can't point to one thing
that makes
him a good person. Yeah,
He's
not about the honey.
On honey. It ain't about the honey.
It's not about the honey. From Steck 33, are the ratings plummeting because Janet is trying to be the star and she is so unlikable? I'm sure that has a minor part to play. The ratings are plummeting because of Jax. It's Jax,
yeah. And again, I think I'm always going to go back to Jermaine. Jeremiah got involved with this show, and the things that we are deciding to highlight and focus on for too long are things that people don't want to watch. You know, again, he is out of touch with the audience and he fucks these shows into the ground. I'll say it forever until he's off of Bravo.
Yep. Last one here from Joanne Beach. Why is Brock on the after show? He never says anything. He said one thing today and it was about getting a beer.
Toss me a beer.
Toss me a beer.
Toss me a
I don't know.
Over here.
Look, they're all in the after show and it doesn't make any sense. Schwartz, Lala, like Schwartz is fine. Schwartz, we've talked about before. He can float around.
Role is to float now.
He floats. Now, there is some rumors about him potentially joining Summer House next year, but
I'm okay with that.
He can float. He's fine. Lala, Sheena, Brock, there's just no need for them. They're force feeding us them in the after show is the reason why I can't really watch the after show every time because they get so much talking time on the after show, and then we go to the episode and it's like you weren't even there.
Yeah, why do we care about your opinion? That goes back to during the episode with Lala. Like, why do we as an audience care about how you feel about the situation? You're not.
They both have podcasts. If we're interested in what their take is on things,
we can listen to that.
We can go listen to the podcast. We never will, but we can. It's there. We don't need to watch this on Bravo. Who gives a shit?
There's just no correlation between them and what's going on because we're
No.
not invested in them or their opinion
Well,
on what's going on.
You know, it could be. I just thought of this. What if, because they weren't really sure what they were going to do with VPR, these are the expiring contracts. So by giving them the after show, featuring them here and there on the Valley, this is just the last year of their contracts. They're just done
They
with them
don't.
after
They don't
that.
have contracts. They
They
don't.
don't
Their
ha- are we
contracts
sure they don't
over.
have
Yes,
them?
they get
Okay.
paid per appearance. So they're getting
Okay.
paid for the after show
That's
appearances,
such
and
a
they're getting
waste of
paid for
money.
every episode they're on. I know. Hire a better producer.
Uh-huh.
Use that money and hire somebody that knows how to do their fucking
Yeah,
job
that's
instead of this
ridiculous.
bullshit where you watch a producer ruin another show. Let us do it.
Agreed.
Give
Yeah,
us
we'll
a
do it.
chance. It'll
Give
either
us
be
a
the
chance.
best season you've ever seen or the worst.
Yeah,
But it'll
we've
be
got
fun.
potentially 2 housewife shows. Well, we got Rhode Island confirmed, but there could be another one out there. If you're not going to
Cleveland?
let us go, if it's close to Cleveland, if you're not going to let us go scout locations for a new housewife show, then let us
Let us
produce.
produce. Come on. What's the worst that could happen?
It can't be
Can't
worse
be-
than this.
Can't be worse than Dubai. We could do better than that.
Dubai season 2 wasn't that bad, but
No, shut
nobody
up.
watched it.
Shut up. But you
All
got
right.
anything else?
No.
Well, that's our show. Bro's gotta go.